Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I know we'll probably have others joining us as we go along. We do ask everybody to mute their lines during the presentation and use the chat feature for asking questions. I know Kim is going to be monitoring that for you, Sonia, so I think she'll be answering those questions, but we'll have a time at the end for question and answers also. This is being recorded and we will send this out to all that have signed up for it so that you'll have all the contact information. So welcome to the SBA Economic Relief and Programs Overview. We thought this was a very important topic to bring to you, and graciously SBA Eastern Region came to us and said we'd like to present this information to them. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Sonia Smith and Steve Dixel. I know we do have Kim and Michael Kane on the call too, but I think Sonia and Stephen will be our co-presenters. And with that, Sonia, it's all yours.
Actually, I'm going to turn it over to my boss, Steve Dixel.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Hope and Sonia, and it's great to be here with all of you virtually. I'd like to thank President and CEO John Longstreet, Melissa Bova, Hope, thank you much, and the Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association for the opportunity to speak with you today. As mentioned, my name is Steve Dixel, and I serve as the District Director for SBA in Eastern Pennsylvania. Joining me on today's call from the Eastern Pennsylvania District Office team is my Deputy District Director, Michael Kane, Lead Economic Development Specialist, Rob Goza, and Lender Relations Specialist, I think Kim Stout I saw, and of course, our Public Information Officer, Sonia Smith. Let me also say it's been a challenging time for small businesses, and specifically here in Pennsylvania. SBA and its resource partners, SCORE, Small Business Development Centers, Women Business Centers, and our Veteran Business Outreach Centers have done an incredible job to help entrepreneurs stay in business, recover, and even grow during these pandemic times. As many of you know, SBA's mission as a federal agency exists because America's small businesses are the engine of our economy, and their impact on our local economies through job creation and retention are paramount to all. The importance of small businesses may have never been clearer than it is right now. During times of emergency and disaster like the current pandemic, SBA's mission is particularly important. Enactment and legislation such as the CARES Act and the American Rescue Plan created a variety of powerful SBA programs to provide economic relief that have dramatically increased SBA loan volume. In terms of the numbers, SBA in Pennsylvania has injected nearly $36 billion into the economy by way of the Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. We've also injected somewhere in the neighborhood of combined of those two programs, 450,000 loans. Let me also say that you have a great presenter today in Sonia Smith. She's going to provide you a program and an overview of EIDL, as well as the impact of some of our other programs. In addition to PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, we also have the Restaurant Revitalization Fund and the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant. And Sonia and my team will conclude with an overview of any other counseling, capital, and contracting questions you might have and how they relate to the SBA program. I want to thank you again, Hope, and your team. I want to thank PR and LA for hosting this event. We realize the importance of it, and we're here to help you. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Sonia Smith, our Public Information Officer, who will take us through today's presentation.
Great. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Hope. Just a little bit about SBA before we get started, because I understand you are a statewide agency. Our office, the Eastern Pennsylvania District Office, services the 40 counties in Eastern Pennsylvania. So you think about Center County with Penn State in the middle. Our territory extends to Center County, and then the other 27 counties heading from Penn State and Center County all the way to the Ohio border is serviced by our sister office, the Western Pennsylvania District Office in Pittsburgh. So if you're on that side of the state, we encourage you to work with our Western Pennsylvania District Office. You'll see the agenda here, which we'll go over just some of the other relief programs that have already ended. Hopefully, a lot of you were able to take advantage of the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, the RRF, the Restaurant Revitalization Program. You may have been eligible for the SBA, the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant Program. And if you had any SBA loans, such as 7A loans, 504 loans, or SBA microloans, you were probably were able to take advantage of the SBA debt relief. And that is when SBA made a certain number of monthly payments on your SBA loan. So today we will be talking about the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. There's two parts to that. There is the loan program itself, and then there is also the grant program. We're going to touch on both. It is important to know that in order to apply for the grant portion, you first need to apply for the loan portion. So if you're interested in the grant portion, please listen to the loan portion of the program. And then finally, if time permits, we will go over SBA assistance and resources. Also, to let you know that this presentation will be emailed out to you from our host organization. Thank you to Hope. So also, as we go through this program, if you have any questions, we encourage you to put them into the chat. My colleague Kim will be monitoring chat, as well as probably some of my other colleagues who are staying on to the program. So please, we encourage you to ask any questions that you may have. Next slide, please. This is just to let you know that we, SBA, as a federal agency with a mission to help entrepreneurs and small businesses, we help you through all stages of the life cycle of your business, whether you're starting, growing, expanding, and recovering. We used to talk about recovering if it was a natural disaster. Perhaps some of you were impacted by Hurricane Ida, flooding, wind damage, things like that. Of course, now the year and a half, we've been helping businesses recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide, please. This just shows you the various loan programs and grant programs that we had. As I mentioned, PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, is complete. If you have a PPP loan, we encourage you, if you haven't already, to apply for forgiveness. SBA does have a portal. If your lender is participating in the direct forgiveness program, and if your PPP loan was under $150,000, you are able to use our platform to apply for forgiveness. Of course, debt relief, I mentioned, that was when SBA was making payments on your behalf to your SBA loan. The EIDL, we're going to talk about that today. And of course, the SBA, the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant Program, is another grant program that has ended for operators of live venue, theatrical venues, producers, organizations such as that. And of course, you may have received an RRF, the Restaurant Revitalization Grant. Those are also closed. So the important thing to note is the EIDL is the program that's open. I'm just going to pass over this slide. This just gives an impact, and thank you again to our District Director, Steve Dixel, for providing that information in his opening remarks. Next slide, please. We're just going to skip that slide too. That's for your own information with the impact that all of our programs have had in Pennsylvania and nationwide. Next slide, please. Okay, great. So here we are talking about the COVID EIDL, the loan components and the benefits of this type of a loan. As I mentioned, this is the last remaining pandemic capital assistance program that is remaining in SBA's arsenal. Why you should have it or think about getting it is, number one, the generous terms. It is at a 3.75% interest rate for for-profit businesses, and nonprofits is actually a 2.75% interest rate. No matter what you borrow, the term is a 30-year repayment term. Plus, there is a 2-year deferment on payments. Please note that interest does accrue. However, you do not need to make a payment until after your 2-year deferment. There also is no set time for you to spend the money. As we've seen, the COVID pandemic continues to be here. And so this is a great loan for working capital needs. You can see there is an example that if you borrowed a $10,000 COVID EIDL, your monthly payments after the 2 years of deferment would be under $50 a month. Flexible use, as I mentioned, you can use these funds on any normal operating expenses and working capital, including paying business debt. And as we get into the slide deck, we're going to talk more about the uses of the program. The COVID EIDL is obtained directly through the SBA. So you do not need to go to a lender or any other external financial platform to obtain this. You will be going to sba.gov/EIDL, EIDL, to take a look at the application. We have FAQs and some other information to help you with the guidance. Next slide, please. Again, we are encouraging everyone to apply for this. Again, when it comes time to pay after the 2-year deferment, the monthly payments will be very low because of the 30-year term. As you can see, some examples on making debt payments are on credit card payments that were accrued due to business expenses, increased wages for your employees, accumulated rent, and any increased cost of goods. Next slide, please. So what is the application process? You should have less than 500 employees. Also, if you are a sole proprietor, self-employed small business owner, a 1099 contractor, you are able to apply for the COVID EIDL grant. We do take a look at your credit score. It needs to be at least 570. And you need to show evidence of being in or invested in launching a business by January 2020. The easiest evidence of being in business would be your federal income taxes for 2019, or your business financial statements showing what funds you were invested in launching your business in January of 2020. So for example, you signed a lease for your restaurant. How much can you get? The formula is very simple. Your annual revenue in 2019 less your annual cost of goods sold in 2019 times 2 is your loan amount. The application is very friendly. There is you can do it on your mobile for loans under $25,000. And the deadline is December 31st or earlier if our congressional funds are expended before that time. You don't want to wait until December because there is a timeline for this, for you to submit the application, for SBA to retrieve your taxes from the IRS, for a loan officer to review your documentation, make a decision, and then to obligate the funds, and then finally to be funded with the funds to your checking account. So do not delay. Also, if you are approved for the EIDL and you choose not to take it, you do not have to take it. Also, when you are approved for a loan amount, you can ask for a lower amount if you don't want the amount that you want. And as we go through this, we're going to talk about the various different loan amount categories and what is required from the business applicant. Also, another form that is required is something called an IRS Form 4506T. This form, when you complete it, allows SBA to go to the IRS and pull your 2019 federal tax transcript. It's very, very important, and I just cannot emphasize it enough, that when you complete IRS Form 4506T, make sure you have a copy of your 2019 tax return, and make sure you complete that Form 4506T exactly. And when I say exactly, I mean exactly how your business is named, your address of your business, whether your title is partner, CEO, president. It all needs to match exactly as it is on your federal tax return. If it isn't exactly, then there are delays in the processing time. Next slide, please. Okay, let's just go on to the next slide. So as of September 8th, so what is it, about a month ago, there were some increases and changes to the COVID EIDL. So number one, we extended the cap from $500,000 a loan amount up to $2 million. And so starting October 8th, which was just a few days ago, we have now begun processing people who are looking for an increase up to $2 million. So if you already have received an EIDL for less than $500,000 and you realize that based on the loan amount calculation that I provided, you are actually eligible for more, I would encourage you to go into the portal, and there should be a button there that you can ask for an increase. So $2 million is the largest loan amount. Now the funds can be applied to payments and prepayments of commercial debt. So for example, if you have a car loan out there, you have a line of credit with a bank, you have a commercial loan with another bank, you can make payments and prepayments. And additionally, if you have federal debt, if your business has federal debt, so for example, you have an outstanding 7A, 504, or a SBA microloan, you can make regularly scheduled payments on those federal loans. Of course, we've extended the deferment to 24 months. And affiliation requirements are simplified. Basically, an affiliate is a business that you control or in which you have a 50% or more ownership. We've also created additional ways to meet the size standards because remember, one of the things I said is you need to have less than 500 employees. So we're going to talk about this a little bit further in detail. And based on the different businesses that you may have, there is a $10 million limit on the maximum aggregate of COVID EIDL loans that you can have to a single corporate group. And that's pretty self-explanatory. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a great slide because it tells you what are the requirements if you're taking a loan up to $25,000, up to $500,000, or to the new category over $2 million, up to $2 million, excuse me. So no matter what your loan is, your interest rate remains fixed, the same. And as you can see, it's split up between for-profit and nonprofit businesses. And no matter what you borrow, the repayment term is the same, as well as the 24-month deferment. If you are borrowing up to $500,000, you need a minimum credit score of 570. For loans over $500,000, the minimum credit score is 625. So for collateral, as you can see, loans under $25,000, there is no collateral and there is no personal guarantee required. For loans up to $500,000, SBA will be taking a UCC filing, which is basically a lien on your business assets. And if your loan happens to be over $200,000, we will require a personal guarantee of all owners that own more than 20% of the business. And then finally, for loans over $500,000, we will again put a lien on your business assets through the UCC1 filing, and we will also take business real estate collateral if available. Plus, of course, a personal guarantee on all loans over $200,000. As you can see, the use is the same no matter what you borrow. It is basically for normal operating expenses and working capital, payroll, rent, inventory, raw materials, commercial debt. If it's non-SBA, you can make payments and you can make prepayments on that. And if it is SBA debt, any type of federal debt that your business has, then only regularly scheduled payments. Again, there is no preset determined amount of time that you need to use the idle loan funds, because as I mentioned, the COVID pandemic is still unfortunately with us. Next slide, please. Okay, this just goes to tell you, again, we've already talked about it. The new loan amount is up to $2 million. Next slide. Okay, and again, permitted use of funds. It's just very important to understand that if it is not federal debt, then you can make payments, monthly payments, and prepayments on it. If it is federal debt, like an SBA loan, you can only make regularly scheduled payments on that. Next slide. Okay, and this is a little bit more on affiliation and size standards, and we talked about that. And the $10 million is the maximum amount of a single corporate group that you can receive. Next slide. Okay, this just gives you a little bit more about the size standards. Again, as I mentioned, you need to have under 500 employees, and we're talking about any type of a business, including sole props, independent contractors, private nonprofits can be of any size, as well as faith-based organizations. If you are an agricultural enterprise, an ESOP, a tribal business, you cannot have more than 500 employees. Next slide. So we have also recognized that there are specific businesses that fall in specific NAICS codes that may have more than 500 employees total because they have more than one location. And businesses that are in these specific NAICS codes, and no worries, because as we go through this, you'll see what businesses are assigned to these NAICS codes. And usually, if you don't know your NAICS code, it is also on your federal tax return. So businesses that are assigned on NAICS codes beginning with these numbers and employ not more than 500 employees per physical location, and together with their affiliates have no more than 20 locations, are now also eligible to apply. Next slide, please. So there you go. So if you are in any of these industries, and number 72, NAICS code beginning with 72, there's probably a lot of you on the webinar today that are in the accommodation and food services. And I think that's probably, oh, okay, maybe number NAICS code 487, scenic and sightseeing transportation might be another one, as well as maybe 3121, beverage manufacturers. So again, the 500 employees or less cap is lifted, excuse me. Again, if you have 20 or fewer locations, including locations of all affiliates, and you have 500 or fewer employees per physical location. Next slide. Okay, this just talks a little bit about affiliation here. And we're just going to skip that slide. You can read that at your leisure. And the same thing if you don't understand what a single corporate group is. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, so this just gives you a little bit of information on how to apply and what the time frame is. So you can apply for a loan up to $500,000, and then you can request an increase of over $500,000, or you can apply for a loan over $500,000 immediately. And again, remember, we went over what the credit score requirements were, and what the collateral requirements were, and what the personal guarantee requirements were. So you can make a determination if you want a loan under $500,000, or if you're looking to go all the way up to $2 million. Next slide. So this is some of the documents that are required for loan amounts that are over $500,000. Of course, everyone needs to upload their 2019 federal tax return, and that includes all schedules, everything. We will also need, for loans over $500,000, a standard resolution and certification. And that is if you have a board of directors in your business. A schedule of liabilities. This will be a listing of all of your liabilities, notes, mortgages, accounts payable, a list of the real estate that is owned, and for sole proprietors, independent contractors, a personal financial statement. And you will see a link to all of these required documents in the portal if you're looking for a loan of over $500,000. Next slide, please. This just shows you what the ODA form P022, also known as the resolution and the certification form, looks like. Next slide. This just shows you what the schedule of liabilities form looks like. Next slide. And this just shows you what the collateral listing form looks like. Next slide. Okay. And let's talk about a little bit about the closing process. So just to emphasize, remember, this program closes on December 31st, meaning that if you are interested in obtaining a loan, especially a loan of more than $500,000, it takes there's a longer time frame involved, and as you can see, there will be more documents. All loans, no matter what amount you receive, will have a loan authorization and agreement, and also a promissory note. Of course, if you have a loan over $25,000, then there will be the UCC1 security agreement. And of course, for loans over $200,000, the personal guarantee. And again, those are for principals that own 20% or more of the business. You personally guarantee the loan should your business not be successful in making the monthly payments. Next slide, please. Okay, so for loans over $500,000, remember, we will take a lien on the real estate collateral if it is available. So there will be additional closing documents like a mortgage, and if needed, perhaps any other state or local county required documents. And SBA will request certification of flood insurance on the real estate collateral that we take. Next slide, please. Okay, this just tells you about the process time for completing, for when you complete the application and submit it. Bear in mind that the time frame is for a perfectly clean application with everything attached that is needed, and bearing no questions, and you're fully vetted for the loan. So the small loans, you can see under $500,000 would take 3 weeks. And you can see for loans over $500,000 increasing to the 2 million, you can see, and the estimated time frame could be as much as 9 weeks. Now, if you had a loan under up to $500,000 and you realize, wow, you know what, now I'm looking for perhaps a $900,000 loan, $1.5 million loan, that's called a loan modification, and it is possible that you may not need to submit all of the documents all over again, especially if they had your federal income taxes. You may need to maybe complete another IRS Form 4506T, but you can see the additional documents that would be needed. Next slide. So where can you find resources to help you with all of this? Obviously, sba.gov/EIDL is where you are able to directly apply for the loan. We have information available on the use of proceeds. We have a list of FAQs. There's a sample intake form, an intake checklist to help make sure that you're prepared when you sit down, and even a portal checklist. Next slide. This lists our customer service number. If you have any questions or you need a status update, as you can see, our customer service is staffed 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Fridays. There again is the website. We encourage you to subscribe to our e-newsletter at the link there. You simply put in your zip code and you'll be matched up with your local district office. You can follow us on Twitter. The one you see on your slide, SBA Gov, is our national account. We also encourage you to follow us in Eastern Pennsylvania for all of the latest news and information at SBA_Eastern PA. And of course, you can find local assistance through our resource partners such as SCORE counselors, small business development centers, women's business centers, and veterans business outreach centers through that website. And of course, SBA.gov has everything else. Next slide, please. Just some FAQs. Where do you go to apply? SBA.gov/EIDL. What if you have been denied? You will receive a letter. You just follow what is indicated in the letter to request a reconsideration. Bear in mind, you have 6 months from the date of the letter to ask for a reconsideration. But then again, don't forget, everything ends December 31st or earlier if our funds are expended before that time. Next slide. Okay, so this was all about the COVID EIDL loan. Now we're going to talk about 2 other programs. There are 2 grant programs that are associated with the EIDL. One is the Targeted EIDL Advance, and then there's also the Supplemental Targeted Advance. So let's talk about these. So you may be eligible to receive up to $15,000 in grant funding, and this is for small businesses. However, remember, as I mentioned in the beginning, the way to be eligible for the grant is first you need to apply for the COVID EIDL first. Now, as I mentioned, if you're declined for the loan, you are still able to apply for the grant. If you are approved for the EIDL loan and you choose not to accept it, you can still apply for the grant, okay? And again, all small businesses, including sole props, 1099s, and private nonprofit organizations are all eligible to apply for the grant funding. Agricultural enterprises, unfortunately, are not eligible for the grant funding. Next slide, please. So what happens is, remember, we tell you first to apply for the idle loan. When you do that, SBA then will determine if perhaps you are eligible for the targeted idle advance, and SBA will contact you via an invitation through email. So there are some requirements, and the requirements are: number one, you need to be in a low income community. And as we go through this slide deck, you're going to see that we actually have a website where you are able to put in the address of your business, and that determines whether your business is in a low income community or not. If you are not in a low income community, then you cannot apply. Also, you need to have documented that you've suffered a greater than 30% economic loss compared between an 8-week period in 2019 versus 2020, and you need to have fewer than 300 employees. So if you meet all of that above, okay, you may be able to receive the Targeted Idle Advance Grant. And what will happen is, if you received an idle advance before, up to $10,000, and some people may have received a full $10,000. In that case, you would not receive another targeted idle, because you don't need to be balanced out, okay? But some people, when they try to apply for the idle advance, received maybe $1,000, and some people, when they applied, found out that the funds had been already all expended. So the targeted idle will balance you out to a previous idle advance up to a full $10,000. And as I mentioned, you will receive $10,000 for those who applied but didn't receive the advance due to lack of funding. And again, SBA will email you with instructions on how to determine eligibility. And again, you will be submitting documentation. So the most important things are: you need to be in a low mod community, demonstrate a greater than 30% economic loss, and have 300 or fewer employees. Next slide, please. So these are some of the items that SBA will be requesting. Of course, the 2019 federal tax return. You need to, again, complete this part of the application with the EIN or the SSN number as specified in your original idle loan application. You will need to complete and demonstrate what your monthly gross receipts were for 2019, 2020, and completed months in 2021. You will also need to confirm that the information in your original idle application is still accurate. And again, you may need to sign another 4506T to obtain tax transcripts for further processing. Next slide, please. So only one submission for each targeted idle advance can be made. Again, carefully review the bank account information when you are completing your idle loan application. I can't tell you how many calls and emails we've received, people that have that put in a bank account that was closed, that transposed their bank routing number with their checking account number. So here's like a hint number 2. When you start to complete the idle loan application, besides having your tax return handy, have a check copy handy too, so you don't transpose or mix up any numbers. Also, another hint is we have businesses that put bank account information in, and then between submitting the idle loan application and getting to the funding stage, they've closed out that loan, they've closed out that bank information, closed out that bank account, and opened another one. I would recommend, if you possibly can, the bank information that you put into your idle application, please keep that bank account open until you're funded and the funds are received. That's another big flag where we notice why are people putting one account number into their application, and during the processing time, they're closing it and opening up another one. So that's just going to delay things much longer. And we're almost in the middle of October. And as I mentioned, the program closes in December. And I just don't want you, stuck in a processing loop. So whatever bank account information you put in, please keep that bank account open until you get funded. If you have any questions on the targeted advance, there's an email right there for you to email. And if you're declined, there's an email there to request a reevaluation if you disagree with the decision. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we're going to go into the supplemental targeted advance. So again, right, the whole point is you start with the EIDL loan application. Okay, then if you get the invite for the targeted EIDL advance, remember that's to bring you up to the $10,000 grant. You need to have done that. That's a requirement to be considered for the supplemental. And again, SBA will reach out directly via email for those who may qualify. So the supplemental targeted advance is an additional $5,000 with any other previously received EIDL advance or targeted EIDL advance. If approved, you'll receive an email, and of course the funds are directly deposited into your business account. If you are declined, the email is right there for you to request a re-evaluation if you disagree with the decision. Next slide. So what are the criteria for the supplemental targeted advance? Well, number one, you should have been eligible for the targeted EIDL advance, which means that number two, your business must be located in that low income community. And as you can see right there, we have the link to where you can go into the mapping tool and determine right away if you qualify for the supplemental targeted advance or not. And when you go in, you'll see that the purple areas are highlighted, and if your business falls into that purple area, then you qualify. If it doesn't, then you don't. Now, for the supplemental, you need to have demonstrated greater than 50% economic loss during an 8-week period beginning on March 2nd or later compared to the same period of 2019. And you need to have 10 or fewer employees. So as you can see with the supplemental targeted advance, SBA is reaching out to the small businesses in the underserved communities. Next slide, please. Oh, wow, that's it. So that's my information there, my office phone number and my email. If you have any questions, we do have about 15 minutes left. At this time, I'm going to check with my colleague, Kim. Are there any questions in the chat that you'd like to go over live?
Sure. We just had a couple of questions that came through during your presentation. One was just what is SFOG, and I explained that it was the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant that was available earlier this year for our venues that were closed and similar businesses, but that is a program no longer open. Somebody was looking for a contact person over in our Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania district office for loans, so I've put our lead lender relations specialist over there. I put in Angel's information, the slides, and one pager. So what we do with today's presentation is we do send it over to our host, the PA Restaurant and Lodging Association. So they have a copy of the PowerPoint slides from today, as well as a one pager that's in English and in Spanish. They can certainly send that out to the participants that are on the call today. There was a question about personal guarantee. A personal guarantee is an individual's promise to repay the loan. So essentially, if your business ultimately ends up closing the individual on that loan is responsible for payment. Just because your business closes, that does not mean that you don't have to repay the loan. It is a personal guarantee that you are going to repay that regardless. And then another question was about, is the loan transferable in the event of ownership change? With the sale of the business, I was going through our SOP that goes about this in more detail. It really is, the idea behind this is that you're going to repay this loan before you sell your business. So when you close on the sale of your business, you'll be paying the loan off. They do have some circumstances that you may not have to do that, but basically upon the sale of your business, you will be required to pay the loan. I just had one more question that came in. If I apply and receive the idle loan and do not use it, do I pay anything, quotations, interest? Yes. So if you receive the funding from the economic injury disaster loan and it's put into your bank account, doesn't matter if you use it or not, you're going to be making payments on that loan because the money has been transferred over to you in your account. So you are responsible for paying that loan back. Interest does accrue during the deferment period. So once you receive that funding, even though you have a 24-month deferment, interest is accruing during that time. And that is all I see at this time, Sonia.
Great, thank you, Kim. Does anyone else have any other questions? So we do have about 10 minutes left. Hope, I don't know if you just want me to show them the second presentation with our programs and services, or if we've provided everyone here with enough information for today.
I guess, I mean, I wouldn't want to go over, you know, the 12 o'clock period. Do you think you could do like a really quick and dirty with it?
Sure, yeah. That way they'll know what's in the second PowerPoint. Eric, if you want to bring up the second one.
Yeah, and everybody just hold on for a moment, and we'll be another like 5 minutes or 5-10 minutes of this, and you know, just for you to highlight some of the other programs, because I know there's other things that you are offering. And I do have those 2 one-pagers, the one in English and the one in Spanish. So we'll be sure to share those out in conjunction when we send out the email. Because I know that was sort of talked about a little bit.
Sorry, I brought the same one up again. Sorry about that.
I was like, that looks the same. More questions.
Yeah, they pretty much look the same in the beginning, like, you know, with our official PowerPoint slides. They're just labeled 1 and 2.
All right, here we go.
Okay, great. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide.
This is the quick one.
Okay, as you remember, I mentioned about our resource partner network. And these are organizations that are approved and funded by the SBA. Next slide. Next slide. So as you heard, I mentioned SCORE. SCORE is a volunteer group of business owners and business professionals. And they have chapters in various counties throughout the state. They offer workshops and mentorship and advice and one-to-one counseling. So all of their mentorship and advice and one-to-one counseling is at no charge to you. There's a ton of chapters. I know in Eastern Pennsylvania, we've got a chapter in Lehigh Valley, Bucks County, Northeastern Pennsylvania, Chester, Delaware, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch on the other side of the state too. And if you just go to score.org, you can find your local chapter. Next slide. Small Business Development Centers are a partnership between the SBA, the Pennsylvania Department of Economic and Community Development, and the host college or university. So the Small Business Development Centers, they're staffed by paid professionals. And again, they offer no-cost consulting to get you started, to grow, and low-cost training, it says on the slide, but right now, due to the pandemic, a lot of their training webinars are at no cost to you too. So we have small business development centers throughout the state. On the western side, Duquesne University, University of Pittsburgh. Of course, in the middle, we've got Penn State. On the other side, we've got Kutztown University, Lehigh University, the University of Scranton, Wilkes University, to name some. So again, you can work with any SBDC that you wish. Most of them are, some of them may be doing things in person. A lot of them are still doing things in a virtual environment. The great thing also about SBDCs is they all have contacts with their graduate students. So for example, if you're say looking to expand to another location, looking to introduce another product or service, they can get the graduate marketing students, the MBA students to actually do a real live evaluation for you at no cost. So it's a win-win. The SBDCs also have resources if you're interested in government contracting and exporting and other resources like that. Next slide. We also have women's business centers. The two that are in Eastern Pennsylvania are the Women's Business Center at Assets. They're located in Lancaster. WBEC East is the Women's Business Enterprise Center East, located in Philadelphia. To note that they're also the third-party certifier for women-owned businesses for the National WeBank certification. And that is if you are a women-owned business and you're interested in any corporate supplier diversity program. Finally, on the western side of Pennsylvania, Chatham University has a Center for Women's Entrepreneurship. And I believe that we are ready to open up a new women's business center in the Erie area. Next slide. Finally, if you are a veteran, I thank you for your service. We have a Veterans Business Outreach Center in Maryland, and you can see the contact information there. They offer counseling and transition assistance, as well as a lot of advice and resources and training to help you start and grow your business. And this is open not just to veterans of the U.S. military, but also to military spouses. Next slide. We also have a learning center online. Next slide. We also have our Emerging Leaders Initiative. This is something that my colleague Kim facilitates. We do a cohort every year, beginning in April and running through October. This is really a mini MBA program. It's an intense 7-month course with over 100 hours of training. The best thing is this is provided at no cost to you. There are some qualifications that you need to have at least one other employee besides yourself, and also show at least $250,000 or more in annual revenue. So be on the lookout if you sign up for our emails, and if you follow us, SBA _ Eastern PA on Twitter. We make the announcement when we're looking for applications for the next cohort. Next slide. Okay, this is just my information all over again. And don't visit us yet because we're still teleworking. Next slide. This just is a screenshot of what you can see on our website, sba.gov/PA. And you can see we have a resource guide. We've got a calendar of small business events and a lot of other information to help you out. Next slide. Next. Federal contracting is something that we can help your business with. This takes time and commitment. And if you would like to know more, simply contact our office or go to sba.gov/ contracting to do an assessment. Next slide. Next slide. There's also federal government certifications if you're interested in doing business with the federal government. The 8A Business Development Program is a 9-year program for socially and economically disadvantaged businesses. The Hub Zone program is for businesses located in low income census tracts. And of course, Women-Owned Small Business Program are for women-owned businesses in specific NAICS codes. And of course, we also have a certification for service-disabled veteran-owned businesses. And you can contact our office to learn more or go to certify.sba.gov. Next slide. The Small Mentor Protege program just follows with government contracting. Next slide. Procurement technical assistance centers that can help you with government contracting. Next slide. More PTAC centers. Next slide. Access to capital. Next slide. Of course, we have microloans and SBA 7A loans and 504 loan programs. And if you'd like to know more about that, please don't hesitate to either contact us or the Western Pennsylvania office and speak with one of our lender relations specialists. Next slide. This is just information on all the different purposes. Next slide. Next. Lender match is just exactly what it is. Fill out 20 questions and get matched with SBA lenders if you're looking for funding. Next slide. Next slide. Private investors, we have small business investment companies. Next slide. These are for high growth businesses. They basically are like a hedge fund. They'll do a business investment either through an equity, taking an equity portion of your business, providing debt, or a combination of both. Next slide. If you are an R&D business, and I don't think anyone here on this program is, so we'll just go through that. We have R&D grants available. Next slide. And if you're in government contracting, we also provide surety bonds to help you receive a bid bond, a payment bond, or any other type of a performance bond, and any other type of ancillary bond. Next slide. Next. And of course, I did mention international trade or exporting. If you're interested in doing that, you can go to sba.gov/exporting or contact our office for additional information. Next slide. That's just more information. Next slide. Resources, our U.S. Commercial Service has information there, as well as Bill Hauk, who is our SBA Export Finance Manager. Next slide. Next. Next. Disaster assistance. Yeah, we've been talking about that. Don't forget, if you've been impacted by Hurricane Ida, there are disaster loans that are available to homeowners, renters, and businesses. Next slide. And we have a recovery hub to help you, whether it's with resiliency, for faith-based communities, underserved communities, and just recovery essentials for your small business. Next slide. And there you go. This is the most important one. Stay connected. Sign up, please, for our emails. Do follow us on Twitter. That's the way we are able to get the information out to you the quickest. And also, there's our email for the district office and our district office phone number. Next slide. And that's it. And I think it's like 12 o'clock on the dot.
It is. That was the quick and dirty. Thank you so much, Sonia. That was great. I know that Kim's been answering questions as we've gone along, and I think, it's a lot of information for everybody to take in. So we'll definitely share all your contact information so that once they have a time to sit back and digest some of it, they'll be able to reach out and ask the appropriate questions that they, are looking for, to find the answers they're looking for. If anybody has any questions still, please, I guess just unmute yourself and start asking. But if not, we'll definitely be sharing both presentations, all the contact information. and the one pagers that you all provided to us. Thank you so much, Sonia. Thank you so much, Kim, for answering all the questions in the chat. You made my life very easy.
We aim to.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us today, and we'll be getting this out later on today. Obviously, if you have any questions, please reach out to Sonia directly, or you could reach out to us and we could get you in touch with whomever you need to speak to in the different regions. Great. Well,
Thank
everybody
you.
have a wonderful day. Thanks,
Thank
Eric.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.